Based on our most recent assessment, we need to practice finding the slope from a table. So in order to find the slope from a table, we use the change in y over the change in x. We choose to write that as delta y over delta x. So the very first thing we have to acknowledge is on these kind of tables, y is on the bottom and x is on the top. So I'm going to start on the bottom, and then when I go from 10 to 6, I'm going down. Therefore, it's minus 4. 6 to 2 is going down, so it's minus 4. And 2 to negative 2 is also minus 4. So my change in y, which should go on top, is negative 4. We go to the x's now, and we see that going from 5 to 6 is going up, so that's adding 1. From 6 to 7 is also adding 1, and from 7 to 8 is adding 1. So my change in x is 1. So we could write negative 4 over 1, but we always like to simplify if possible, so negative 4 would be the best answer. The most common error on these horizontal tables would be to write it as 1 over negative 4. And as you can see, that's the way we look at it, but that is incorrect. Slope is always the change in y over the change in x. Our next table is a vertical table, and once again, we want to recall to start with a change in y. So I'm going to start on the right-hand side, and we're going up by 8, and this happens consistently for each new row. On the other side, something unusual is happening. I'm going from 1 to 0, so I'm going down 1, and from 0 to negative 1 would also be, down 1. Let me erase that. That should be minus 1. So this is minus 1, this next change is minus 1, and this next change from negative 1 to negative 2 is minus 1. So in this case, the change in y is 8, the change in x is negative 1. So when we simplify this, this will be negative 8. Before we move on, we want to also talk about the fact that we could use the slope formula, which you notice starts with y's on top and x's on bottom. So I can choose any two ordered pairs I'd like to use this formula. So I'm in this first example, I'm going to use the first two. You're going to notice that this is the second ordered pair, and I'm going to start with the second y minus the first y. Then I'm going to go to the second x minus the first x. And when I do that, 6 minus 10 equals negative 4, and 6 minus 5 is 1, and we get the same exact answer we had from the beginning when we use the informal method. If we try that on the second table, again, we can start with any two ordered pairs. I'm going to circle the first two that I see. My second y is 16 minus my first y, which is 8. My second x is 0 minus my first x, which is 1. And again, we get 8 over negative 1, which is the same thing we had here. Would you now pause this video and go ahead and try the next two examples on your own? Then come back and listen to the video to make sure that you have the answers correctly. Okay, I'm going to use the informal method on problem number 3. And again, I'm going to start with a change in my y's. As I look, it's consistently going up by 2. So that would be 2. And my change over x, if I look, this is consistently going up by 3. So the answer is 2 over 3. And again, my brain is registering 3 over 2, but it's always the change in y over the change in x. This cannot be simplified, so we're going to write it as is. The next table, starting at the y side, this is consistently going up by 10. The x side, the change is consistently going up by 2. So my change in y is 10, and my change in x is 2, and that can be simplified to 5. Would you go ahead and stop this now and continue on the back? When you're finished, you may look at the answer key.